final new release album of this week will come from Year of the Knife from Delaware. It is technically their debut album. It's called Ultimate Aggression. They are a very, very brutal hardcore band. It's, from my understanding, it's a re-recording of two EPs. So it's Ultimate Disease and First Day Aggression. See, Ultimate Aggression. Ta-da! They reintroduced themselves with a statement of intent on opener YOTK, which is just very low end, almost is it slam? The genre slam beat, yeah, sure. It's almost like slam riffs with the vocalist, who I'm not quite sure. They haven't assigned names. I'm very, very bad if they don't assign names. And vocalist just screaming YOTK at you, and it's fucking terrifying because he sounds like amplified death, which is fun. It's some low end sludgy riffs on the back of some pounding double bass, and it really picks up towards the end, and it which then explodes seamlessly into Ultimate Disease, which is track 2. Ultimate Disease is a lot faster, it's a lot more confrontational. Lyrically, it just fucking goes at the government. Kind of wondering if it's because they talk about like the higher ups of the government instead, so I don't know if it's going directly at President Trump. I was going to say, yeah, President Trump. I don't know why I was getting confused there. President Cheez-It. If there's a song to judge the album as a whole on, which is unfair to judge an album by one song, but it is fatal because that is the only brand spanking new song from the album. So it's the one they recorded especially for. Its music very interesting. It does bounce between the high-end kind of punk and low-end kind of sludgy sort of sound, both vocally and musically, and it plays around with speed more. So I'll go into a bit more detail in a bit, but the first half of the album, and therefore the first EP, it's very slow. I'd put it more along the lines of sludge metal as I would to hardcore, or straight up hardcore I should say. Whereas the second half, and therefore the second EP, is a lot more fast-paced, and it is a lot more akin to metallic hardcore punk. With Fatal, they do tend to, well, they have played around with both those speeds at the same sort of song, which I do like. I like it when hardcore bands sort of like play around with speed, so it's not just like all one thing the entire way through. Moving on to Blue Lies. Blue Lies, the opening to that might be the heaviest thing this year. The drum fills in between each stroke of the guitar, it just... Still now, I'll probably listen to that first 30 seconds and then just repeat, because it's just so great. The more I go on the second half of the album, the more I found that the key points I was making for each song kind of overlap. So I was constantly saying about how the increase in tempo makes it more interesting for myself. Again, it's down to personal preference. They do play around with tempos more often. So like I said, they balance a little bit more between more fast pace and more slow down, breakdown sort of stuff. The song Evil, I noticed it more in Evil than anywhere else. They use a higher register screamer as well in the chorus, and to hear that like guttural but like high end screaming evil at you, it pretty nail on the head. It does do exactly what it says on the tin. Ronzel. And yeah, they still install that low end stuff for the breakdown. I think Evil might be the Evil or Blue Lies, probably one of the best songs on the album. First Day Aggression for me then was the second. Well, it wasn't for me. It was, in fact, the second EP to be released. I'm reading my notes as I go along. I do apologize. And it's a clear sign that after Ultimate Disease, they did start to play around with their sound and start adding to it and improving to it. And as a whole, between the two ends of the album, the metalcore term, both halves are covered. If you want the more like metal side of things, you've got the first half, and I'll include Fatal in that bracket as well. I think they're a lot more. Fatal's a lot more chuggy and like slowed down compared to the second half. Which, yeah, if you do prefer the more fast-paced hardcore sound, which I do, I'd personally go for like Blue Lies onwards. Fail is evidence that they do seem to be trying to blend those two characteristics of the sound together, and it's like I said, it's hard to judge it based on that one song. And I think when they have more spoken and more eloquently put reviewers talk about how they could do that, I think album 2 will be where they realise that sound, they combine the two ends of what they like to do. And I think, yeah, album 2 should and will be where they realise that new sound. And yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll give it a fancy old listen because that's what I apparently do. Can't talk about it though, apparently. If you are a fan of Hang the Bastard, Crowbar, or if you are fully indebted into your UK hardcore scene, you remember a band called Pariso, I think you'll go for this. It is the debut album from Year of the Knife. It's called Ultimate Aggression. And yeah, check it out if you like your head being stomped.